I found my husband with another woman in our bed, so all I needed to get my revenge was a Super Bonde Titolo Velhas. You know that moment when your entire life crumbles in a matter of seconds? Well, I lived through it. And the worst part, it was in my own bedroom, in my own bed, under my own roof. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday. I had left work early because I had a terrible headache. I didn't even tell my husband, Richard. I thought, I'll get home, take a hot shower, and rest a bit. How naive I was. When I opened the front door, I found the silence strange. Richard's car was in the garage, but the house seemed empty. I climbed the stairs slowly, still with that throbbing pain in my temple. That's when I heard it. A muffled laugh, female, coming from our bedroom. My heart stopped. My hands started shaking. Part of me wanted to turn around, go back down those stairs and pretend I hadn't heard anything. But my legs kept moving forward, as if they had a mind of their own. I pushed the bedroom door open, and there they were. Richard, my husband of 7 years, the man who promised to love me in sickness and health for better or worse. He was tangled up in our Egyptian cotton sheets, the ones I had bought for our anniversary, with her. Jessica, my colleague from work, the woman who smiled at me every morning in the break room, who asked about my weekend plans, who gave me a hug at the Christmas party and told me how lucky I was to have such a wonderful husband. They froze. Time froze. I froze. Richard's face went from passion to pure terror in half a second. Jessica grabbed the sheet, covering herself, her eyes wide with panic. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw things. I just stood there, completely still, feeling something inside me die. Babe. I can explain. Richard started, jumping out of bed, desperately reaching for his pants. But I had already turned around. I walked down those stairs with a strange calm, got in my car, and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove until I found myself parked outside a small hair salon in a neighborhood I'd never been to before. The neon sign flickered. Super Bonde. Transformations that change lives. I stared at that sign for a long time, and then something clicked in my mind. They wanted to destroy me? Fine. But I would rise from these ashes completely transformed, and my revenge would be so sweet, so perfect, that they would regret every single second of what they did to me. I walked into that salon with tears in my eyes and rage in my heart. I walked out as someone completely different, and that was just the beginning. The woman who greeted me at Super Bonde wasn't what I expected. Her name was Valentina, a stunning Brazilian woman in her 50s with platinum blonde hair that cascaded down her back like a waterfall of silk. Her eyes were sharp, knowing. It was like she could see straight through me. "You've been crying," she said matter-of-factly, not as a question, but as an observation. I nodded, unable to speak. My throat was tight with unshed tears. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't offer sympathy. Instead, she tilted her head and studied me like an artist studying a blank canvas. "You want to forget, or you want revenge?" she asked, her accent thick and melodious. I blinked, surprised by her directness. "What?" "The hair," Valentina gestured toward the salon chair. "Some women come here to forget the pain, cut it all off, start fresh, erase the past. But others?" She smiled, a knowing, almost wicked smile. "Others come here to become weapons, to transform into someone so powerful, so stunning, that the person who hurt them will choke on their regret." I felt something ignite in my chest. "The second one," I whispered. "Definitely the second one." Valentina's smile widened. "Good. Sit down. We have work to do." For the next 4 hours, I sat in that chair while Valentina worked her magic. She didn't just bleach my hair, she transformed me. She told me stories while she worked, stories about women who had walked through her doors broken and left as warriors. "I opened this salon 23 years ago," she said as she applied the bleach with expert precision. "After my husband left me for a younger woman, everyone expected me to fall apart. Instead, I took every penny I had saved and created this place. Super Bonde isn't just about hair, Kirita. It's about power. It's about taking back control. I watched in the mirror as my dark brown hair, the hair Richard always said he loved, the hair he would run his fingers through while we watched movies, slowly transformed into a brilliant, icy platinum blonde. But Valentina didn't stop there. She cut it into a sleek, sophisticated style that framed my face perfectly. She shaped my eyebrows. She even taught me a new makeup technique that made my eyes look fierce and mysterious. When she finally spun the chair around to face the mirror, I gasped. The woman staring back at me was a stranger. A gorgeous, confident, powerful stranger. "Now," Valentina said, placing her hands on my shoulders, "you need to understand something. This transformation? It's not about him. It's about you. You're not doing this to make him want you back. You're doing this to remind yourself of who you really are. Someone who deserves so much better." I felt tears welling. Up again. But this time, they were different. They weren't tears of pain. They were tears of awakening. I paid Valentina, and she handed me her card. "Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. We women have to stick together." I drove home in a daze, stealing glances at myself in the rearview mirror. Each time I looked, I felt stronger. When I pulled into the driveway, Richard's car was still there. The house lights were on. I could see his silhouette moving behind the curtains, probably pacing, probably panicking, probably rehearsing whatever pathetic excuse he was going to offer. I sat in the car for a moment, gathering my courage. Then I grabbed my phone and did something I never thought I would do. I downloaded a dating app. Not because I was ready to date, but because I wanted Richard to see exactly what he was losing. I wanted him to watch me become desired by others. I wanted him to feel the jealousy, the regret, the desperate panic of losing something precious. I took a selfie right there in the car, my new platinum hair glowing under the streetlight, my eyes fierce and determined. Within minutes of creating my profile, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Matches, messages, compliments. I smiled, a real smile for the first time that day. Richard had made his choice. Now I was making mine, and my revenge was just getting started. I walked into the house with my head held high, my new platinum hair swaying with each confident step. Richard was in the living room, sitting on the couch with his head in his hands. When he heard the door, he jumped up. "Oh, thank God, I've been calling you for hours. I was so worried." He stopped mid-sentence when he saw me. His jaw literally dropped. What did you do to your hair?" I walked past him without, a word, heading straight for the kitchen. I could feel his eyes burning into my back, confused and desperate. "Babe, please, we need to talk about this. It was a mistake, a horrible mistake. Jessica meant nothing to me, I swear." I spun around so fast he actually took a step back. "Don't," I said, my voice ice cold. "Don't you dare call me babe. Don't you dare tell me she meant nothing. You brought her into our home, Richard, into our bed." I know, and I'm so sorry." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Sorry?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're sorry you got caught. That's what you are." My phone buzzed. Then again. And again. Dating app notifications? I didn't even try to hide my smile as I glanced at the screen. Richard's eyes narrowed. "What's that? Who's texting you?" "None of your business," I said sweetly, walking toward the stairs. Are you on a dating app?" His voice rose in disbelief and anger. "Are you serious right now? I made one mistake and you're already—" I whirled around at the top of the stairs. "One mistake? One? How long has this been going on, Richard? How many times has Jessica been in our bed? How many lies have—" "You told me?" The guilt on his face told me everything I needed to know. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. "Pack your things. I want you out by tomorrow." "What? No, this is my house too. You can't just kick me out." "Watch me." I locked myself in the bedroom, our bedroom, though it didn't feel like ours anymore. I could hear Richard pacing outside the door, alternating between pleading and angry threats. But I had already moved on to phase 2 of my plan. I opened the dating app and started responding to messages. Not all of them, just the ones from men who seemed genuine, interesting, successful. Men who wrote more than, "Hey, beautiful," and actually read my profile. One message caught my attention. It was from a man named Marcus. His profile said he was a corporate lawyer, divorced, no kids. But what caught my eye was his message. "I saw in your profile that you love Italian food and vintage jazz. There's a new restaurant downtown that serves authentic Tuscan cuisine with live jazz every Friday night. Would you be interested in joining me this week? No pressure, just good food, good music, and good conversation." Thoughtful, specific, respectful. I found myself smiling as I typed back, "That sounds perfect. Friday at 8? His response came within minutes. "It's a date. I'll pick you up. Looking forward to it." I felt a flutter in my stomach, excitement mixed with nerves. It had been so long since I'd felt desired, pursued, appreciated. Another buzz. This time it was a text from Jessica. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Richard told me you two were having problems, that you barely talked anymore, that the marriage was basically over. I feel terrible." I stared at that message for a long time. The audacity, the manipulation, she was make herself the victim, like she'd been deceived too. I typed back, "You feel terrible? Good. You should. And for the record, my marriage wasn't basically over until I found you in my bed. Enjoy my sloppy seconds. You two deserve each other." Block. Delete. Done. I heard Richard finally give up and go to the guest room. The house fell quiet. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, processing everything. 24 hours ago, I was a faithful wife with what I thought was a solid marriage. Now I was a platinum blonde with a date on Friday and a cheating husband sleeping down the hall. The old me would have cried herself to sleep, would have wondered what she did wrong, would have blamed herself. But the new me, the Super Bonde version, she was already planning her outfit for Friday night. She was already imagining Richard's face when he realized I was actually moving on. She was already thinking about how to make him understand that he didn't just lose a wife. He lost the best thing that ever happened to him. And the best part? This was only the beginning. Tomorrow, I would call a lawyer. I would change the locks. I would take control of my life in ways I never had before. Valentina was right. This wasn't about Richard anymore. This was about me. And I was just getting started. Friday came faster than I expected. The past 3 days had been a whirlwind of emotions, decisions, and small victories that felt monumental. Richard had refused to leave at first, insisting we needed to work through this and go to couples therapy. But when I told him I'd already contacted a divorce attorney, Amanda Chen, the most ruthless divorce lawyer in the city according to my research, his tune changed quickly. He packed 2 suitcases and moved in with his brother, but not before trying one last pathetic attempt to win me back. "Please," he begged on Wednesday night, tears actually streaming down his face. "I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Don't throw away 7 years of marriage over one stupid decision." I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt absolutely nothing. No love. No hate. Just emptiness where he used to live in my heart. "One stupid decision," I repeated calmly. "Richard, you made a choice every single day to lie to me. Every morning you kissed me goodbye and went to work knowing you were sleeping with my colleague. Every night you came home and asked about my day, knowing you were destroying our marriage. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. Deliberate, calculated choices." He had no response to that. He left with his tail between his legs, and I changed the locks the very next morning. I also went to work on Thursday, my new platinum. Hair turning every single head in the office. The transformation was so dramatic that some people didn't even recognize me at first. But the best moment? The absolute best moment was when I walked past Jessica's desk. She looked up, saw me, and her face went completely white. She opened her mouth to, say something, but I just smiled, a cold, beautiful smile, and kept walking. I didn't need to say a word. My appearance said everything. I'm thriving. I'm moving on. And you're stuck with my cheating ex-husband. By lunchtime, the entire office was buzzing with gossip. People had noticed Richard's recent work trips coinciding with Jessica's absences. They had seen the guilty looks, the whispered conversations. Now, seeing my transformation, everyone put the pieces together. Jessica requested a transfer to a different department by the end of the day. I heard through the grapevine that HR was strongly encouraging it. Good. I hoped she felt uncomfortable. I hoped she felt the weight of everyone's judgment. Now it was Friday night, and I was getting ready for my date with Marcus. I had spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing the perfect outfit, a sleek black dress that hugged my curves in all the right places, paired with heels that made my legs look a mile long. My platinum hair was styled in loose waves, and I'd mastered the fierce makeup look Valentina had taught me. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself, and I loved it. The doorbell rang at exactly 8 p.m., punctual. That was a good sign. I opened the door, and Marcus's reaction was everything I needed to see. His eyes widened, and he actually took a small step back, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Wow," he breathed. "You look absolutely stunning." Marcus was even more attractive in person than in his photos. Tall, well-dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, with kind eyes and an easy confidence that didn't feel arrogant. "You clean up pretty well yourself," I said, grabbing my clutch. He offered his arm like a true gentleman, and we walked to his car, a sleek Mercedes that screamed success without being obnoxious about it. The restaurant was perfect. Intimate lighting, a jazz quartet playing in the corner, and the smell of fresh pasta and wine filling the air. Marcus pulled out my chair, ordered a bottle of wine that the sommelier praised as an excellent choice, and then did something that completely disarmed me. "So," he said, leaning forward with genuine interest, "tell me something real about yourself. Not the dating app version. The actual you." I hesitated. How honest should I be? Should I tell him I was fresh out of a marriage destroyed by infidelity? That this was my first date in almost 8 years? That I was still figuring out who I was without the weight of betrayal crushing me? But something about his eyes, warm, patient, understanding, made me want to be honest. "I'm recently separated," I said carefully, watching for his reaction. "Very recently. Like this week recently." I expected him to make an excuse, to suddenly remember he had an early morning, to politely finish dinner and never call again. Instead, Marcus nodded slowly. "That takes courage," he said. "Going out, taking this step. Most people would hide away, nurse their wounds in private. But you're here. That says a lot about your strength." I felt unexpected tears prickling at my eyes. When was the last time someone had acknowledged my strength instead of my pain? "I found my husband in bed with another woman," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "In our bed, a woman I worked with, trusted, considered a friend." Marcus's jaw tightened, anger flashing in his eyes. "Not at me, but for me." "That's unforgivable," he said quietly. "I'm sorry you went through that." "Is that why you got divorced?" I asked, deflecting slightly. "Infidelity?" He nodded. 3 years ago, my ex-wife had an affair with my business partner, lost my marriage and my company in one fell swoop. Took me a long time to trust again, to be willing to put myself out there. We locked eyes, and in that moment, I felt an unexpected connection. We were both warriors, both survivors of betrayal, both learning to rebuild. "So," Marcus said, raising his wine glass with a small smile, "here's to new beginnings, to finding ourselves again, and to having the courage to try, even when it's terrifying." I clinked my glass against his. To new beginnings. The conversation flowed easily after that. We talked about everything, our careers, our dreams, our favorite books and movies. Marcus was intelligent, funny, and refreshingly honest. He didn't try to impress me with false bravado. He was just himself, and I found myself being myself too. Not the woman who had spent 7 years molding herself to fit Richard's expectations. Not the wife who had ignored her own dreams to support his career. Just me. We were halfway through our dessert when my phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. "Sorry," I muttered, glancing at the screen. "Richard, of course." 15 missed calls, 23 text messages. The most recent one made my blood run cold. I know you're out with someone. I'm parked outside the restaurant. We need to talk. Now. My hands started shaking. Marcus noticed immediately. What's wrong? He asked, concern evident in his voice. My husband, ex-husband, he's outside. He's been texting me. He knows I'm here. I looked up at Marcus, feeling a mixture of anger and fear. I'm so sorry. I didn't think he would. Hey, Marcus said firmly, reaching across the table to steady my trembling hands. You have nothing to apologize. 4. This is not your fault. Do you want to leave through the back? I can ask the staff. No, I said, surprised by the steel in my own voice. Something inside me snapped. No. I'm not hiding. I'm not running. I didn't do anything wrong. Marcus studied me for a moment, then nodded with respect. Okay, then we finish our dessert, and we leave through the front door like the adults we are. And if he causes a scene, well, he smiled slightly. I was a boxer in college. I can handle myself. I felt a rush of gratitude for this man I barely knew, who was willing to stand beside me without question. We took our time finishing dessert. I refused to let Richard control my evening, my choices, my life anymore. When we finally stood to leave, Marcus placed a protective hand on the small of my back as we walked toward the entrance. The moment we stepped outside, Richard appeared from the shadows like some deranged stalker. He looked terrible, unshaven, disheveled, his eyes wild and desperate. This wasn't the polished, confident man I had married. This was someone unraveling. There you are, Richard said, his voice tight with barely controlled rage, his eyes locked onto Marcus. And who the hell is this? None of your business, I said coldly. Richard, go home. Home? You kicked me out of my home. You changed the locks. You won't answer my calls. And now you're parading around with some... Careful, Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. Very careful how you finish that sentence. Richard's eyes darted between us, and I could see the jealousy eating him alive. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what I felt. 7 years, Richard said, his voice breaking. 7 years of marriage and you're already replacing me? With him? Did you even love me at all? The audacity of... That question hit me like a slap. I actually laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Did I love you? Richard, I gave you everything. I supported you through law school while working 2 jobs. I moved across the country for your career. I postponed my dreams so you could chase yours. I loved you so much that I ignored the late nights, the mysterious work dinners, the distance growing between us. I loved you enough to be blind to what everyone else apparently already knew, that you were sleeping with Jessica for 6 months. Richard's face went pale. How did you... People talk, Richard. Especially after they see the wife show up to work looking like this. I gestured to myself, to my transformation. Suddenly, everyone felt comfortable sharing what they'd suspected all along. 6 months. 6 months you were lying to my face every single day. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Demanded, stepping closer. Tell me, Richard. Make me understand how you accidentally fell into bed with my colleague for half a year. I'm dying to hear this explanation. He had nothing. Just empty excuses dying on his lips. I made a mistake. No, I interrupted. A mistake is forgetting our anniversary. A mistake is leaving the toilet seat up. What you did was a choice. Multiple choices. Every time you texted her. Every time you lied to me. Every time you touched her in the bed we shared. Those were all choices. Tears were streaming down Richard's face now. Please, I can change. I'll do anything. We can go to therapy, I'll quit my job, we'll move somewhere new, start over. I don't want to start over with you, I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. I want to start over without you. Because of him? Richard pointed at Marcus accusingly. Because of me, I said, firmly. Marcus has nothing to do with this. Even if I never see him again after tonight, I would still want nothing to do with you. You killed our marriage the moment you decided Jessica was worth more than our vows. Richard's face crumpled. He actually sank to his knees on the sidewalk, grabbing at my dress. Please, please don't do this. I love you. I need you. I can't live without you. People walking by were starting to stare. I felt humiliated all over again, but this time, the humiliation was his, not mine. Get up, I said quietly. You're embarrassing yourself. I don't care. I'll beg if I have to, please. Marcus gently but firmly moved between us. She asked you to leave. I'm going to ask you once, politely, to respect that request. Richard looked up at Marcus with pure hatred. You think you know her? You think one date means anything? I've known her for 10 years. I married her. You cheated on her, Marcus said simply. You betrayed her trust. You disrespected her in the worst possible way. And now she's moving on. That's not on her. That's on you. Something in Marcus's calm, matter-of-fact tone seemed to break through Richard's desperation. He slowly stood up, wiping his face with his sleeve. This isn't over, Richard said, but his voice had lost its conviction. Yes, it is, I replied. My lawyer will be in touch. Don't contact me again unless it's through her. I turned and walked toward Marcus's car, my head held high despite my legs, shaking. Marcus followed, keeping himself between Richard and me until we were safely in the vehicle. As we pulled away, I looked back to see Richard still standing there on the sidewalk, a broken man watching his life drive away. I should have felt satisfaction, victory, but instead, I felt free. Are you okay? Marcus asked softly, glancing over at me as he drove. You know what? I said, realizing it was true even as I said it. I actually am. For the first time in a long time, I really am okay. Marcus smiled. Good, because if you're up for it, I know an incredible ice cream place. That's open late. Nothing heals emotional confrontations quite like a massive sundae. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Ice cream sounds perfect. As we drove toward the ice cream shop, my phone buzzed one more time. But it wasn't Richard. It was Valentina from Super Bonde. Saw you walk past the salon tonight, Karita. You looked like a queen. He looked like trash. Proud of you. Remember, you didn't just change your hair. You changed your life. Don't ever look back. I smiled and tucked my phone away. Valentina was right. The Super Bonde wasn't just about platinum hair. It was about transformation. About becoming the person you were always meant to be once you shed the weight of someone else's betrayal. Richard thought he could destroy me. Instead, he set me free. And my revenge? It wasn't elaborate or cruel. It was simply this: living my best life without him. 3 months later, my life looked completely different, and I mean that in the best possible way. The divorce was finalized. Amanda Chen had been worth every penny. Richard tried to fight for the house, claiming he had contributed equally, but Amanda proved with bank statements and receipts that I had paid for over 70% of everything during our marriage, while he spent his money on client dinners that were actually dates with Jessica. The judge wasn't impressed. I got the house, half his retirement fund, and my freedom. He got exactly what he deserved, nothing but his own regrets. Jessica? She didn't last a month with Richard after I left. Turns out the thrill of an affair dies pretty quickly when it becomes an actual relationship with consequences. She transferred to a different company entirely after the whispers and judgment at work became too much. I heard through mutual friends that Richard tried to win her back, begging her the same way he begged me. She blocked his number. Karma really is beautiful sometimes. As for Marcus and me, we took things slow. Really slow. After that disastrous first date confrontation, he could have easily walked away from all my drama. Instead, he texted me the next morning. Last night was intense. Want to try again? Maybe somewhere Richard doesn't know about this time? We went mini golfing, then to a farmer's market, then on a hike where we talked for hours about everything and nothing. Marcus never pushed, never demanded anything from me. He understood I was healing, rebuilding, rediscovering who I was without Richard's shadow over me. 3 months in, we were officially dating. But more importantly, I was officially myself. I cut my hair even shorter, a bold pixie cut that Valentina created with her signature magic. "You're shedding layers," she told me as she snipped away. "First the marriage, then the length. Soon you'll be down to your core. Pure, strong, unbreakable." She was right. With each passing week, I felt more like myself than I had in years. I started taking painting classes, something I'd always wanted to do but Richard had dismissed as a waste of time. I joined a book club. I traveled to New York for a weekend just because I could. I made decisions based on what I wanted, not what would make someone else happy. My friends, my real friends, rallied around me. They admitted they never liked Richard much, that they'd always felt he was controlling, that he made me smaller somehow. "We wanted to say something," my best friend Sarah confessed over wine one night. "But you seemed happy, and we didn't want to overstep." "I wasn't happy," I admitted. "I was comfortable. There's a difference. I was so busy being the perfect wife that I forgot to be myself." The office dynamics changed too. Without Jessica's toxic presence and with everyone knowing what Richard had done, people treated me differently, with respect, admiration, even. I got a promotion 2 months after the divorce. My boss said it was long overdue, that I'd been undervalued for years. Apparently, Richard had actually discouraged them from promoting me in the past, saying I was happy where I was and didn't want additional responsibility. Another lie. Another way he'd held me back without me even knowing. But the most unexpected change? I went back to Super Bonde and asked Valentina if she needed help. "I'm not a hairstylist," I told her, "but I'm good with business, with numbers, with marketing, and I believe in what you do here. This place changes lives. It changed mine." Valentina's eyes filled with tears. "I've been praying for someone like you," she said. "Someone who understands that we're not just selling hair transformations. We're selling power, confidence, new beginnings." I became her business partner. Together, we expanded Super Bonde into 3 new locations across the city. We created a program offering free transformations to women escaping domestic violence, women re-entering the workforce after incarceration, women who needed that physical change to symbolize their internal strength. Every woman who walked through our doors with pain in her eyes and walked out with fire in her soul reminded me why Richard's betrayal, as devastating as it was, turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. One afternoon, about 4 months after the divorce, I was at the original Super Bonde location when someone familiar walked in. I didn't recognize her at first. She had gained weight. Her hair was stringy and unwashed. Her eyes were red and swollen. It was Jessica. She stopped dead when she saw me, clearly debating whether to turn and run. But something in her face looked so broken, so defeated, that I felt an unexpected wave of something that wasn't quite pity, but wasn't hatred either. She started, her voice cracking. "I didn't know you worked here. I can leave." "No," I said calmly. "Stay. Valentina is the best. She can help you." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I know that doesn't mean anything. I know I don't deserve your kindness, but I'm so sorry. Richard and it fell apart. He was obsessed with getting you back. He talked about you constantly. I realized I was just a placeholder, that he never actually cared about me. And I destroyed your marriage for nothing. For a man who didn't even want me." Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, to throw her apology back in her face. But looking at her, truly looking at her, I just felt tired of carrying anger and bitterness. "You didn't destroy my marriage," I said finally. "Richard did. He made the choice to cheat. You made the choice to participate. Yes, but the vows were between him and me. He broke them, not you." "I should have been better," Jessica said, tears streaming down her face. "I should have said no. I knew he was married. I knew you were kind. And I did. It anyway." "Yes, you should have," I agreed. "But we can't change the past. We can only decide what we do next. So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to treat you like any other client who walks through that door looking for a fresh start. Because despite everything, I do believe in second chances. I believe in transformation. And I believe that sometimes the worst thing that happens to us leads us exactly where we need to be." Valentina took Jessica as a client. 2 hours later, Jessica left with a new haircut, new color, and, I hoped, a new perspective. That night, I met Marcus for dinner at our favorite Italian place. As I sat across from him, laughing at his terrible joke about his day in court, I realized something profound. Richard's betrayal didn't break me. It broke the cage I'd been living in. The Super Bonde wasn't just a hair transformation. It was a life transformation. It was the physical manifestation of choosing myself, of refusing to be defeated, of rising from the ashes more powerful than before. My revenge wasn't about hurting Richard. It wasn't about making him jealous or proving I was better off without him, though I absolutely was. My revenge was simply this. I became the woman I was always meant to be. I built a life I loved with people who respected me. I found happiness not despite what happened, but because of what I chose to do after it happened. And honestly, that's the sweetest revenge of all. As Marcus reached across the table to hold my hand, I caught my reflection in the restaurant window. Platinum hair gleaming, eyes bright with genuine joy, a confident smile on my lips. That woman in the reflection? She was a warrior. She was a survivor. She was free. And she was finally, beautifully, completely herself. Richard once told me I'd never be happy without him. He was wrong. I'd never been happier in my life. Thank you for following this journey of transformation, revenge, and self-discovery. The story of the Super Bonde became about so much more than hair. It became about a woman reclaiming her power, her identity, and her future.